All right, guys, here is Asteroid Destroyer Section 7. So what we are going to start with today is we are going to add score to our game and get our score working. So we are going to start on ES game. So double click ES game. We are going to add a global variable. So just right click in the empty space, add global variable. We're going to call it score. And the default value will be 0. So you can just click OK on that, right? And then what we're going to do is we are going to go to our onStart event up here. And we're just going to add a couple of actions to this. So we're going to add an action to our onStart of layout, and we're going to set score to 0, and we're going to set wave to 0, just to make sure that when the layout starts that those go back to their default values, just to make sure. So we're going to do system set value. We want score to be 0. And then we're going to add another one. So what you could do is you could copy this. So like I could hold control and click and drag like that. Or you could just make it again, but you just want to do system set value. And then instead of score, we're going to make wave 0. Okay. Now it's very, very important that I think these are going to be okay just sitting at the end. Yeah, those are fine right there. So we can just leave those right where they're at. Then we're going to go back to the game layout, and we're going to make some more text objects now that use some of these things that we've made. So we can go ahead and double click on game. So last time we made the health object. Now we're going to make a text object that will have the score. So we're going to double click. We're going to make a text object. We're going to call it score. What I might do is I might call it text score just to make sure. The reason why I'm going to label it that way instead of just calling it score is because then it will look the same as the global variable and it will be confusing. So I'm going to define that as text score. Okay, and I'm just going to click somewhere on the screen to make it. So here's my score text. Score text, we'll put it maybe in the upper left. And then we're going to do the same thing as we did on the other text objects. So you're going to go down to the properties. We'll just change the name to say like score or something. Okay. You could change the font type. So I'm probably going to make it match the other one. So I think on mine I had chosen Calibri. So I'll do that just so it matches the health that I have at the bottom. Size, we'll try 25 again. 25 I think is good. I'll make the box a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to make it white to match the other one. You can do whatever color you want. It's totally up to you. Okay, but it should be nice and visible there. Okay. Um, did that. Okay, and then we're going to make another text object that's going to show the wave that we're on. Okay, now this one we are going to have a specific position and size for it, so we're going to take a look at that. So I'm going to double click and make another text object. Oh, the other thing before we get too far, okay, make sure that you put this on the HUD layer. See how my layer says HUD? And that's because I had the HUD layer selected. So if you accidentally made this and it's on like the main layer or the background layer, first off, if it's on the background layer, you're not going to be able to select it. So that's going to be your first hint if you did that by mistake. Just unlock the background layer quick so you can select it. Or if you put on the main, just get it highlighted. And in this layer box here, you can just instantly change the layer. So don't worry about making something on the wrong layer. Okay. But then make sure you are on the HUD layer before you make the next text object. So we're going to double click. We're going to make it a text. Okay. And we are going to call this one text wave because it's going to have our wave on it. So we'll just call it text wave like that. Okay. Insert, click on the screen. All right. So for this one, what we can do is we can go into properties, and for the text here, we'll just type wave, just so we know what that's for the wave, okay? And then up at the top, there's a position and size here at the top. So the position, we are going to change the 190 by 96. Make sure that this looks good. This should get us pretty centered. That is not very centered, okay? And then the size, 922 by 321. So do 922 by 321. Okay, and I'm just basing this off of what the instructions say. You can obviously click and drag and move this around, but this is just going to be like a default location. Now, the reason, so the size we're doing up here, this isn't actually the size of the text. You can see my text is still small. This is the size of the text box. So you can see we're going to need a box at least that big to fit everything in, okay? So then in the properties, going back down here, you should be on text wave still. So we change that to wave, okay? We're gonna make the font size 48. So you can just click on there and type 48 and press enter, make it quite a bit bigger. And then there's a horizontal alignment. We want that to be center. So now you can see we have our wave text really big. Now you might think that this is really big and distracting to be in your game, but what it is this is only going to appear in between waves when you're frozen, and then we're gonna make it disappear. So basically this text is always gonna be here, but it's gonna be invisible while you're playing, and then we make it visible again when we want, okay? And then of course we're gonna wanna change the color of this. So let's go ahead and once again, pick something light, like a white or a yellow. So I'm good with white right now. Excuse me. All right, so we have that in. So that's what that should look like. Now we're going to go to ES Game, and we're going to start to program some code to make this text work. Okay, so go to ES Game, and we're going to go to On Start of Layout, and we're going to add an action here, and we're going to do the text wave. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the text to say something. So we're going to type set text. Whoops. Jeez, pressing a bunch of wrong buttons here. Set text. There we go. Okay, so when you do set text, it's actually going to say um, it's going to actually change what's in the text box. Okay, so when you see the red quotation marks, that's a string. So anytime you type inside the red quotation marks, it's literally going to write out what you're typing. It's not going to see it as code. So this is one of the few parts when you're coding where you literally can type whatever you want and it's not going to give you an error as long as, excuse me, as long as you're inside the red quotation marks. So we want it to say the word wave number, and then we want a colon, and then we want an empty space because we want to have a space between the actual wave number, okay? Then you're going to go outside the quotation mark. When you're outside the quotation mark, now you're actually doing actual coding, so you have to type in code that the computer understands. So we're going to do Shift 7, which is going to give us this and symbol. So it means basically we're adding something to the text. And then we're going to type in the word wave, and it should be the wave with the green globe. That means it's referring to the wave global variable. And then we're going to do +1, okay? Then we're going to type another and symbol. We're going to type the word new line, and it should pop up down here, and you can double click it, okay? Then we're going to type another and symbol, okay? And then you're going to type 2 quotation marks. And then in between these quotation marks, we're going to type some more text, which we're going to say press enter. We'll do all caps on enter, maybe. Press enter to play, like that, okay? So just make sure you review this. So you guys see everything outside the quotation marks is kind of colored. Um, if I typed in anything incorrectly here, it would be giving me an error. But since it's not giving me an error, I think I did it all correctly. So, and you know what? Yeah, we should be fine. So just to explain this. So this means it's literally going to write out the word wave number just like I wrote it with the colon, and then there's going to be an empty space. Then this wave refers to my global variable. So whatever number wave equals. So if I'm on wave 2, so like let's say, so at the beginning of the game, wave equals 0, right? So when I start the game, this is going to pop up. It's going to do wave +1. So it's going to do 0 + 1. So it's actually going to say wave 1. And then this new line means it's like pressing enter on the keyboard. So it's going to enter down to the next line. And then right below that, it's going to say press enter to play. And then we just need these little ands in between each command to just connect it all, is basically what this is doing. Okay. So at the beginning of the game, it's going to set the wave to say that. Okay. Now we need the same event to go on event 22, which is the asteroid count equals 0. So depending on what extra stuff you've had, if I refer to an event number, it doesn't mean that it's going to always be that event number. This is only if it's like the default game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click this and I'm going to copy it right here. And I'm going to go down, and mine is event 22, but don't worry about the number. You want to make sure you find this event, the one that says asteroid count equals 0 and wave is greater than 0. You want to paste it here. So if I just right click here and I paste, then that event went right there. Okay. And this one, the order should not matter. No, that can just be anywhere. So we just want that. So basically it'll change the text to that anytime we finish a wave, we want that text to be right there. Okay. All right. So then on the same event, while we're here, um, we want to make sure that the text is visible. Okay. So what I might do is I might just put it down here and I'm going to add an action for text wave and we want to set it visible. So I'm going to type in visible, VIS, set visible, and I want to make sure that it is visible. And I want that visible before we set the text here, okay? So it should look like this. So basically, anytime we finish a wave, it's going to set the text visible, and then it's going to set the text to say what we want it to say here, okay? Then we're going to go to our enter pressed event, which is right below it, right here. And basically, when we press enter to start the wave, we want that text to go invisible, okay? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to add an action here, just to be clear. So on the top here, right after this add one to wave, we're going to add an action, and we are going to do text wave. We're going to type set visible. And then we actually want to make it invisible here. So the whole idea is when we start the game, this big text box is going to be there. It says what wave we're on. And then what'll happen is we will destroy all the enemies. The text is going to pop up and be in the middle of the screen. And then our ship will be frozen because it's in between waves. So we press enter to start the next wave, and we're going to make that text go invisible. So then it's not in our wave when we're playing. Okay. So let's go ahead and just test that really quick and make sure it works. So let's start on the start. I'm going to run it. So we press enter. So you can see the text is here, really big. And then when I press enter, it should go invisible. Okay. And then I believe what we programmed is when we defeat the wave and we freeze, that text should become visible again. Yep, it's visible. And you can see the wave number increased. And then I can press enter again. So I should see that between every wave when I grade your game. So make sure you got that in right. Okay. You can go back and rewatch that step if you missed it or if it's not working. Just watch carefully. Make sure you did it right. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we want to make it so our score actually shows up here. So we're going to go back to ES game and we need to make a new every tick event. Every tick events are it's this event here that just continuously goes. So we already have one, which is good. We have one for a health bar. So you don't need to make a new one if you already have one. We're just going to add another action to this. And basically every tick, which means constantly, we want the score to track to the score variable. So I'm going to add an action for, it's going to be for system set value. And we're going to set the score. Or sorry, I got confused. Sorry, we want to go to text. My bad. Go back a step. Ignore that. So we want to do, so here, I'll start over. So we're going to add an action and we want the text to match it, right? So we're going to go text score. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do set text. Okay. And then inside the quotation marks, this is what we physically want it to say. So we're going to say, we want it to say the word score. And then we're going to put a colon in an empty space. And you're going to go outside the quotation marks. We're going to do an and symbol. And we're going to type in the word score without quotation marks, and it's going to tie to the score variable. So basically what this says is that it's going to say the word score, have an empty space, and then it's going to say whatever the score variable equals. And it's going to constantly set it to that every tick. Now I'm just going to quick run my game and make sure that it's working. Yep, it's working. Sometimes if you run it and you don't actually see the number here, it means that your text box is too small. And so what I would double check, so mine is pretty wide, but like if I did this, so let me do this and run the game. See how it just says score colon and it doesn't have the zero? So people will see that and get confused and think they coded it wrong, but it's actually just the text box is too small to fit it. Now, even doing like this, and I can see the zero, that's still a problem because if this goes to double or triple digits, it's going to be too big to fit the space. So what I would do to be safe is just stretch it pretty long, and that I would have to get a pretty crazy score now to make it not fit within that box. Okay, so that's what you want to do to just be safe. Yep. All right, so we've got that. So now what we have to do is we have to make it so you can actually get points when you destroy things. Since we just added in score, we haven't programmed that in yet. So let's go to ES game. And we want to go down to the event. On mine, it's event 17. But it's the event that says the asteroid size is less than or equal to 2.5. So I think it's in the asteroid handling, and it's this event right here. So go to asteroid handling, find this event, asteroid size is less than or equal to 2.5. And then all we want to do here, so remember, this is all underneath asteroid on collision with bullets. So this is when we're shooting an asteroid. So basically when we shoot an asteroid, we're going to add an action right here, and we're going to go system, add to, and we're going to add to score, and we're going to add 1 point. So this is just, if you shoot a big asteroid, you're going to get 1 point, okay? Then we're going to go down to this else statement here. For me, it's event 20. It's the else right underneath the asteroid 2.5 event, okay? So this here is also when we're destroying an asteroid. Now this one down here, this is when we destroy the small asteroid for good and we finally finish it off. So for this one, we're going to add 10 points. So I'll add an action, system, add to, score, and we're going to do 10. Okay, so I'm going to get 10 points if I finish off the asteroid. So those are the 2 places I'm going to get points, okay? Then we're going to do some other finishing up things. So I'm going to minimize this group. We're going to go back to wave system. And we're going to my number 23, which is the on enter pressed event. So go to that. And what we're going to do, if you guys remember at the very top, we have this asteroid max speed variable that we use. And when the asteroids spawn, basically they spawn by this variable, and then it has like a random range within that variable that it uses. Well, we're going to make it so that this increases every wave, so that every wave the asteroids will kind of get a little bit faster. So on this on enter pressed, we're going to add an action here, and we're going to do system, and we're going to do add to. So we're going to do add to. We're going to do asteroid max speed, and we're just going to add 0.2. Now you could go crazy and do a big number here and see how much it affects your asteroids if you want to play around with that. But this means it'll just be a small speed increase every wave. Every time we press enter to start a new wave, it'll increase that just a little bit. Okay. All right. Then there's something else we have to change. So let's go to, on mine it was event 13. This is going to be under spaceship handling. And we just want to go to that spaceship on collision with asteroid. Okay. Right now, no matter what asteroid we're hitting, it's taking away 10 from our health. What we want to do is we want to take more damage if it's a bigger asteroid and less damage if it's a smaller asteroid. So instead of just doing a solid 10, we're going to type a little equation in here to make it so it's going to base it off the size of the asteroid. So double click on this one to edit it, okay? And for the value, instead of 10, we're going to type in int for integer. You're going to type in a set of parentheses like this. Okay, and then you're going to go inside the parentheses. Okay. And inside the parentheses, you're going to do 35 divided by, which is the backslash symbol. Okay. We're going to do asteroid dot size. Once again, this is a little bit of coding we're doing here. Okay. It should look like that. So integer means that if it has a decimal on it, it's just going to chop off the decimal and make it a whole number. And this is just going to be 35 divided by whatever the asteroid size is, okay? So if the asteroid size is bigger, we're actually going to take less damage. And the way that we have it programmed is the asteroid size variable actually increases as it gets smaller. So the smaller asteroid will actually do less damage to us than the larger asteroids. Okay, I know that might be kind of confusing, but just understand that basically this is making us take more damage from larger asteroids and less from smaller ones. Okay, so we've got that in there. Then what we're going to do is we are going to go to the game over layout and we're going to add some text on there. So let's go to the game over. Let's go ahead and add a HUD layer here because we want to put text on it. So in the layer window, I'm going to right click, add a layer to top. I'm going to call it HUD. Okay, make sure that that HUD layer is selected. And what we're going to do is we are going to drag our wave and score text onto this. So at the top, you should see text score and text wave. We just want to drag those and put them on. Okay. Now on here, um, the size might change the size a little bit. You can kind of play around with it and do whatever you want. So, we might move this more like in the center here if we wanted to. We might shrink it a little bit. I might change the text here to say like final wave instead. Final wave. Now, just so you know, when we're typing in the text here, this is literally just for like the editor mode. Whatever you type in the code, that's what the text will actually show to the player. Okay. And then this one here, we might change this to say final score on this page. Oops. Okay. And then I might put that up here and I might change this and make it a little bit bigger and kind of center it because this is going to look kind of different. So then this one, I might go down on my score here and I might do center alignment and I might increase the size a little bit to maybe 48 to match what the wave is. I might do something like that and make that a little bit bigger. So now I've got my final score and final wave. But I'm not going to grade you on the position or size of these. You go ahead and just put these where you want. As long as it's readable and it does the correct thing, I'm not really going to care. So you just want to have the score and text wave on there. So just to clarify, you're not actually making new text objects. You're borrowing the ones you already created down here. Okay. And then all we have to do is on the ES game over, and this will be the last step of this section, so we'll go to ES game over. We just have to make an on start of layout event. So we're going to add an event, system, on start. Whoops. Okay. And then all we're going to do is set the text for these. So we're going to add an action for text score, and we're going to set text. Okay. And this is going to just say final score and what the score is. So inside the quotation marks, I might just do like final score like this, colon space, and then on the outside, we type the and symbol, shift 7, and then score without quotation marks to get the score global variable. So it should just say final score and score just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing for the text wave, and we're going to make it say final wave and wave. So I'll just add an action for text wave, set text. In the quotation marks, we'll type final wave, colon space, then outside the quotation mark and wave. And make sure you always double click on the suggestion down here so that it's spelt the way the computer wants. If I had typed that in all caps and kept it all caps, it would give me an error. So it has to be typed exactly the same way as the variable. That's why you always want to select the suggestion. Okay. And then if we have that, we should be good to go. So we can test it really quick. If we run the game over layout, those text objects should change. So yep, final score 0, final wave 0. All right, so as long as yours works, that should be it for section 7. We only have one more section and we will be done.